Okay. Okay, we are live. Fantastic. Okay, everyone, I'm just gonna take a couple minutes to get situated. If you don't know me, I'm Maria Riegger, and we are doing our first live stream on this channel after getting monetized with YouTube. Super excited about this. I'm just double checking a couple things because we're at the very tail end of Mercury retrograde, and I don't trust technology right now. So, let me just check a couple things. Awesome. Think we're good. Yay. Okay. So, we are super excited to be here today. This is Positive Parenting with Astrology, and I'm your host and resident Gemini, Maria Riegger. And like I said, we are doing our first live stream on this channel today. And I want to introduce first my good longtime friend and personal psychic intuitive, Amy Strauss. She's a longtime resident and friend of mine from the DC area, and she's going to help us in navigating the transits we're going to talk about today. And I want to start by saying that if there were ever a series of transits to support burning bridges and letting go and moving on, these are the transits. So if you have been having trouble doing that, chances are that the universe is compelling you to do that at this time. Okay. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to give a high level overview of some of the really important transits we've been through recently. And then we're going to focus on, Amy and I are going to focus on the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, followed by, which was perfected last weekend, and the Scorpio Full Moon, which was very powerful, which we experienced last night. So if you recall, what, about a month ago, we had a very powerful solar eclipse in the sign of Aries, both the moon and the sun obviously conjunct rather in the sign of Aries, and that closed out a 7-year cycle. Now, you may know, have a very specific idea of what was concluding for you in that 7-year cycle, or you may not. It's okay. In my case, I have a very good idea of what it was, that cycle or part of your life that you are saying goodbye to, that is closing out or that is changing. Okay. So what happened? Then at the beginning of April, Mercury turned retrograde in the sign of Aries. All right. Now, we all know what Mercury retrograde brings, but this time, since it was in Aries, you may have had a lot of energy around wanting to take action, but not feeling ready to, or taking action before thinking about things, or jumping before looking. You may have felt a lot of angst. You may have felt a lot of anger. That should all calm down starting this week. Mercury actually goes direct tomorrow, again in the sign of Aries. We'll have a few days in that shadow period where things will be a little bit off kilter still, but this is this is an energy that supports you beginning to take action regarding those things that you were forced to think about during the retrograde. Hopefully you didn't text any exes or anything like that, but if you did, it's okay. It's part of the process. Now, what we really want to get into, Amy and I want to get into in detail, is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that was perfected last Saturday, but which we are going to feel the effects of over the next 14 months. Okay, this conjunction is very important because it's starting a new 14-year cycle. This conjunction happens about once every 14 years. The last time these two planets, Jupiter and Uranus, were conjunct in the sign of Taurus was in 1941, during the height of World War II. If that gives you an indication of some of the changes that this conjunction has the potential to bring about. So obviously, I talk a lot on this channel about Aquarius. Amy has an Aquarius moon, so she's a good guest to talk to about this stuff. So Uranus being the ruler of Aquarius, this is a planet that supports revolutionary change, extreme change, sudden change, technological advances, and technological change. Jupiter, as we know, is the ruler of Sagittarius. It's a planet that brings in abundance, personal growth, opportunities for personal growth. You see where I'm going with this. Higher consciousness, learning, expansion. So when you have these two planets conjunct, you really have the possibility here for sudden, almost overnight changes. And the changes that you will be making may appear to be drastic and extreme and immediate, but likely you have been thinking about these things for a long time. Okay, to the outsider, even to yourself, they may seem very drastic, but they're probably things you've been thinking about and mulling over for a long time, and you finally, have the ability or capability or insight or will to make the changes. Okay, and the changes can be very drastic, but that does not mean you have not been thinking about them. So, I often get asked during this transit, like, what what should you be doing? What changes should you be making? I want to ask Amy about this, but first I want to give you a couple quotes that may help you with this transit. One is from Winston Churchill, which is one of my favorite quotes of all time, which is when you're going through hell, you have to keep going, right? And the second is actually from Attack on Titan, which I don't know if you guys watch anime. My son and I do, but it has one of my favorite quotes recently that I've heard, which is, "The only way to live is to fight." Okay, so this is a transit that really supports these changes. So, Amy, I want to ask you because there's a lot of confusion right now. I hear from a lot of people, they feel like they want to take action, aren't sure about the next action to take. A lot of confusion about what path they should be following, what areas of their life they should be focusing on to really make use of this energy. So, as a psychic intuitive, someone who helps people get in touch with their not only their intuitive abilities but their spirit guides, and you help people get into the frame of mind where they can allow this information to come forth and be receptive to this information. How what would you tell people who ask those questions? Like, how can you help with that?
So thank you for the question. I love being on here. Maria and I go way back, so I was thrilled to be part of this. So, it's funny. Yesterday I was like, I'm going to tap into my guides and get some information for the transit for the show. And my spirit team was like, it's called live, Amy. I'm not doing it until it's live. Okay, so
Doing it live.
I was going to ask them. I already have two guides here. I've got my main guide and another guide that's been helping me out with stuff. So I'm just going to ask them and just tap in and see what sort of wisdom they have for all of you. So the first image I'm seeing is like a really red rose, and this looks very full. I think this is in reference to the full moon. So there's this comment. One guide is stepping forward and basically saying like, listen, ooh, he's going to drop some knowledge. He's like, things cycle through. The rose doesn't stay like a big, red, beautiful rose, does it? No. The petals fall off, the bloom falls down, another bud emerges, and then another bud emerges, and then another bud emerges. The message of like things go and move in cycles, and this is nothing different. They're definitely showing me, it kind of looks like an astro globe, like something moving and changing and shaking. And then I literally see it's almost like a toddler picking up and shaking the earth. And that, I think, is a sign of all the shakeups and the disruptions that we've experienced. So the question is, like, we get the disruption, we get the phase and the cycling. How can people personally begin to move through some of these changes? So the feeling and the image I'm getting in response to that question is like, I think for many people, they're not sure where to start. And I'm reminded, what's that? The journey starts with one step. And I think the other thing they're sort of commenting on is like, you know, it's also good enough if you stop doing what you're doing now that's harmful to you. When you're going in the wrong direction, stop walking. They're almost like it's less. They're almost saying like an emptying needs to take place before there is a path forward. So for many of us, myself included, I think I came out of the full moon being like, I'm going to do, maybe I need a new hobby, or maybe I do this, or maybe I do that. And then my guides sat me in the corner and basically was like, you need to fix some things you are doing now. And no amount of hobbying or calling a friend or dancing to music or journaling will solve your crappy habits. Like, it was some tough love. So the message they're giving me really is like, if it seems overwhelming, maybe look, if the change feels overwhelming, focus on things that you can change, that are in your purview, that you know are issues that you have not addressed.
Right.
And they're showing me that this is like, it's just going to come down to your own perspective and your joyfulness of how you live life every day. They're like, this has less to do with major life changes. They're like, those will come when they're appropriate, but they're showing me the planets being far away. It's like slower moving, right? So they're like, it feels more present and more pertinent only because the changes might feel new to you, but they're showing me like the changes are going to be very small. They're not showing me like big job changes, big moves. let's break up with someone, let's get in touch. They're just like small incremental daily changes is what these transits are all about. People are thinking and feeling very big, but when they're like rubber meets the road, it's the tiny things that you need to fix.
Right.
And they're like, you need them because that's what guides are for. They're here to sort of poke us. That's still small voice. Like, do we need to do this? Do we need to act? You know what I mean? It's like, they're like, focus on that shit first.
Right.
Like, this team
Right.
don't play. They're like,
Right.
that's where your attention needs to be.
Right. I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of people have these ideas of where they want to get to,
Yeah.
right? You know, myself included.
Yeah.
But then they fail to appreciate all the steps necessary to get to that. So it's kind of like it's not enough just to know what you want. Or maybe you don't want that thing badly enough to do the steps and make the time. And Amy and I, since we're both Saturnian people, Amy's got a Capricorn sun, I've got Capricorn moon. We're capable of, I could say I'm most of the time capable of Gemini energy, most of the time capable of making those short-term sacrifices and being patient for the longer-term gains. And I think that's what your guides are talking about, right? It's like, look at the steps, this changes that you can make on a daily basis, and also you're going to have to be patient, okay? Because anything that has value takes time, like building relationships, building a business, building a career, right? Building a life with someone. Those things, you know, if they're done well, they take time. So, the conjunction energy is a really good, like, lift-off point. That's the title of today's live stream, right? Extreme Liftoff or Sudden Liftoff. It's a really good liftoff point for all these things. It's like you said, a shaking up. We still need to keep focus on what we need to do the day to day. And remember that Jupiter and Uranus are both in Taurus right now. So there's a little bit of grounding to the energy there. Taurus associated with the second house, material resources. You know, we understand that. We're kind of earth people too. That grounding energy. So while the potential for a liftoff is really striking here, we got to stay grounded. And I think the energy of that transit, that conjunction supports that. And as I always say, look at your chart, the viewers, look at your chart to see where the conjunction falls, what house in your chart, to get an idea of the areas, the themes of your life that are going to be touched like most strongly by this transit. That's a good starting point if you're really feeling confused, like not knowing where to start. That's a good starting point to kind of think about those themes. Anything you can do to ground yourself. Anything else you want to add? Like, I have some thoughts, but I want to get yours first.
Sure. Okay, so if you're open to it, so now a guide that I know very well that is your guide is stepping forward.
Wow.
This is your main guide, and she looks like a tree come to life, like a little muted, and she feels like a goddess to me. That's just the energy I get from her. And she's like basically reminding you and the viewers, if you look at a summer bouquet, like cut flowers, right? And you look at them and hold them in your hands. What else do you want from life? Like, she's making the point, like, this is it. Like, understanding the beauty of a flower. They're like, you are so focused on all the things that will not bring you any happiness. And she's like, and these flowers show you God. She's like, they are in the flower. She's like bringing it in front of you and presenting it to everyone, being like, what else do you want? They're like, this is all for you. Like, and they're bringing up, she and a few of my other guides are bringing up a really famous parable that has to do with the prodigal son. And for those that know it, that are of the Judeo-Christian background, basically, like, the son is a young son, and he's very temperamental, and he goes off and he squanders his father's fortune. The elder son stays home and works for the father. Youngest son comes back, father's happy, throws a party, right? And this pisses off the oldest son, and he says, I've been loyal to you for all these years. And the father responds. Most people think that this is about accepting people back and forgiveness. It is, and the father says, all of this was already yours. People are seeking something that is already there. And your guide is bringing this across very strongly, personally, between the two of us. But she's hinting at, like, that's the Taurian grounding aspect of this. And that's why they're showing me roses and flowers, because these things are from the earth. They're from the earth. And the red rose, also the red color, is love.
Right.
And they're connecting and showing, like, you have infinite love available to you. Why do you want to start a business? Not saying don't do it. It just means if you're trying to seek something outside of yourself, you already have it. If in wanting a relationship or wanting to be on YouTube or wanting to be an actor, if these things are seeking God, she's like, you already have it. If they're seeking love, you also already have that. So she's kind of like bringing everyone back to square one to be like, really think about your motivation. What is it? What is it? Is it ego? It's fine if it is. She's just be like, let's just be clear on what we're talking about. She's like, very no nonsense, your guide, which is why we love her.
Yeah. Always gives me the kick in the pants when I need it. What are you doing? I know, I had that, like, I really felt emotional last week. I think I told you, right? And my therapist on Friday is like, he kind of acted like my guy does sometimes, like, shake out of it!
He was probably
Like,
standing right behind him.
feel your feelings. But I told Amy on Saturday, because she did this great chakra cleansing session for a bunch of us locally. And I told her, I said, I don't like feelings. I feel like I stepped in something. Oh, like, get it off my foot. I don't like feelings. But so my therapist was like, shake it off. Feel the feelings, then shake them off. Like, yeah, I know. So anyway, you're going to feel the feelings. If you have kids with a lot of Scorpio energy like Amy and I do, man, you're going to be feeling those feelings. Like I was this morning. And I kept telling myself, Scorpio full moon is not his fault. Scorpio full moon. Just let it go. Just let it go. I know. I heard you the first 3 times. I'm like, okay. Just shake it off. It's not his fault. It's just like feeling the feelings. Anyway, it's always a fun day. You never know what you're going to get. Scorpio kids are so funny too. They're like, this is a good seg into the Scorpio full moon we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like so quiet and reserved, and you think like, I don't know, you just think that they're in like la la land, and all of a sudden it's like they come alive. Like I had this, God, this is like a year or 2 ago. I had this experience with my son. He was just kind of we were out somewhere and he was feeling like apathetic, and all of a sudden, I don't know, something happened, and he just felt the need to defend me, and he suddenly came alive and like got really defensive about me, his mom, and I was like, oh,
Like,
this is cool.
Welcome.
But the Scorp, it's so funny because like Scorp, that energy, it's like they will fight if they have to. They will be leaders if they have to. It's not necessarily their default position. I love to talk about Scorpio on this channel all the time. I have this playlist on Scorpio energy. But it's like they will fight if they have to, and they will be a leader if they have to. They'll do it. So it's so funny. He just like jumped up, and I'm like, "Where'd this come from?" And he's like, "Well, this and blah blah blah." And I'm gonna go over and give that person a piece of my mind. I'm like, you don't have to do that, but I appreciate it because I feel like defended. I feel really good, but you don't have to do that anyway. So it's interesting seg. So anything else you want to share about the conjunction? I want to also say, like, if we're feeling like we want to get into that state of mind where we're receptive to receiving information. I know this may sound crazy. Of course, meditation's good for that. That's a go-to, right? But also doing any activity where you're able to clear the mind a little bit, including physical activity, like walking in the forest by yourself, one of my favorite things to do. Working out, like, you'd be shocked how many times things just came to me when I'm like in the first 5 minutes of like the elliptical workout, where I got my music on, my EDM on, I'm doing the elliptical. The first 5 minutes of the workout, I'm like, I just receive information.
Yeah.
I just like, what's my fiction novel I'm working on, my latest fiction novel, I just got the information in my head all of a sudden about how to resolve like a plot hole. It was just hilarious. I'd been trying to do that for months, and it's like, I just put myself in the state where I was receptive to getting that information.
Yes.
Clearing that mental clutter, which we're going to talk about next. But is there anything you want to add before we start talking about the full moon?
The guides want to mention the 2 really quick things. So the first thing is like the feeling. So I think that's probably more applicable. So they're bringing up 2 things. They're bringing up the conjunction brought through a lot of fear for people because they know things need to change. So we've already established that the big change is going to distract you. It's about little changes. They're like, focus on the little changes. So the one is the fear and addressing the fear, because that's not from God. It's just not. So addressing that, understanding what it is. The second thing they're bringing up with respect to the conjunction is you brought it up there. You are a channel, right? So now that Jupiter expands, right, and Uranus disrupts, if the expansion is too much for you, they're reminding you that you actually control that channel. You have a crown chakra and you have a third eye chakra, which I believe probably the crown is most activated. That's like you on the ellipticals coming in from your crown. You can set your crown chakra. You can say, you know what? I think it's great that I need to write a screenplay. Right now, I'm really overwhelmed with like picking up after my kids and they're always sick and I can't, this stresses me out. You can just reduce that. That's self-care. That's psychic self-care, and that's what we taught on Saturday. So just saying reminder, like you actually don't need to receive stuff if it's stressing you out. You can move that because you're picking up on channels. God knows what, who knows where you're getting this information from, right? You practice discernment. That's what your third eye is for. I discern from this information what I want to work on and what is too much for me. And you can tell your guides, you know what? I think it's fab that I have to move out and help my mom. I need to get through the next 3 weeks at work. That's my priority right now. So I'm just going to, I know I got to do it. Let's put this on the shelf. Let's just like reduce this down. And then we're off. And then I can focus on what I need to. So they're reminding you like you are in control of everything.
Right, including what to focus on, right? Because there's so many distractions, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's just it's overwhelming. And sometimes, like, I'll be honest, like I'm getting a lot of opportunities right now, professional opportunities. It's fantastic, but it's hard to know what to respond to, right? But sometimes, as Saturnian people, right, I appreciate when one avenue is closed down. I'm like, fantastic, I can cross it off my list and not think about would this be something good to pursue right now.
Yeah.
When the avenues are closed down for you, I like to think of it as now you know better what to focus on. I mean, as opposed to, well, that didn't work out and I kind of feel crappy about it because I put in, some work and some effort and it would have been a cool thing to do. But it may not have brought you to where you want to be, right? It may have been a distraction, shiny object syndrome. So sometimes I think that way. And I think it's helpful to think about, well, that's just the universe's way of showing me I should not be focusing on this. I should be focusing on other things. Maybe I don't know what those are right now, but I'll figure it out. Yeah. So, and I know you talked about on Saturday, and if you are local to the DC area, I'll make a shameless plug that please let me know if you are interested in joining any of Amy's live sessions. I'm going to put her contact info in the video description below, but she's on Instagram and she does, and these are free sessions in the DC region. So we did the chakra healing, chakra clearing ceremony on Saturday. And, it's so funny because some things, I'm actually going to talk about this over this weekend when I talk in Miami, some things are so simple to do. We think that it can't be this simple to do it this way. Like this, it cannot be this easy, but sometimes it is. And what I want to bring up is what you were talking about on Saturday, which is if you don't know the answer, ask your guides. Like just ask it out loud, get in a position where you can be receptive, clear your mind as much as possible, maybe meditate and ask. And you'll be surprised how and when that information comes to you at some point. And it can be as simple as that, right?
Yes. So, the guides want to talk about this.
Okay.
So 2 things. They want you, so 2 things. So when it comes to asking, they're showing a shift that's going on that I think is generational, likely was impacted from the transits that we had, especially the solar eclipse moving into the last transit we had with Uranus and Jupiter. And this is that the past Piscean structure of like they're just telling me to say it this way. Asking professionals about your life, asking someone outside of yourself people are going to start turning here. They're going to start turning inward. I hate to tell you this, but again, the guides are telling me this, and I feel the same way. Likely you have to reach a really desperate point to start asking here, right? We ask everywhere else, medical issues, marriage issues, professional issues, everyone else. And this is very condoned in our culture, right? Because if you're, we're very good about like, even religious people pray, but if you listen, then that's the devil. No. The guides are saying this. Turning inward and looking for answers here is what a lot of the shift began. People don't know how to do it. We're so used to asking things and expecting outside knowledge to provide that answer. The answer is here, right? But you mentioned yourself, you needed to be still. And the first workshop we did is called the stillness workshop for that reason. you can't fill a full cup. It just doesn't work, right? You have to empty first. So they're showing me like literally, it's not going to be a dump of water. These are slow moving. It's literally going to be a dribble. People are going to start getting interested, pursuing activities that remove them from this and this and all the things that distract us. And in that vacuum we've created with stillness, you will start to get insights. And like you made an acknowledgement. When you were on that elliptical, you said to yourself, wow, I'm getting insights. That's all it takes, is just an acknowledgement, and then it gets bigger and grows like anything else that you give attention to, right? A screaming child tantrum. Give attention to it? No. Why would I give it that energy? You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's like you want to focus energy where you want it to grow. And they're showing me like a flower bed. They're like, loving flowers need water and sunlight and good soil and fertilizer. They're like, you are no different. You are no different than that beautiful flower. If you want to receive, you have to open yourself up, be still, and then be curious with yourself. And we taught that at the workshop. Like, what should I do with that? Ask your solar plex chakra. Or if you don't like using chakras, go into prayer and meditation and just say, like, listen, my higher self, what's going on? And be receptive. Don't have an answer. Why am I not getting an answer? Ask that question. Journal it. Talk to people. Like, they're like, this is the smart money. This is where the shift is it's a forcing mechanism. It's a forcing mechanism for us to start looking inward versus outward for our answers.
Right. I love that. That's great. And it's not that other professionals cannot add some value, but I feel, and I have done that in my own life over the past few years. Like, well, I just want an answer, and I'm going to ask everybody. Right? It's kind of like asking your therapist, what should I do? They're not going to tell you most of the time. They're going to be like, well, what do you think you should do? I don't know. That's what I pay you for. No. So, well, how do you feel about that? Yeah, I mean, you really have to decide things for yourself. Man, this resonates so much because like the worst thing about my childhood, which I've talked about at some length on this channel, not in detail, but is that I was gaslit so badly that I did not trust my own intuition and decision making. And I was too quick as a young adult to give up that autonomy to other people because it was easier. So, for those of you who've watched this channel for a while, you will know that in almost every video I harp on this like a banshee, right? Like, you should not be teaching your kids abject obedience. The best thing you can teach them is how to think for themselves. In fact, I have told my son this more than once, and I have said this before on this channel. I have told him, if the only thing you ever learn from me is to make your own decisions and stand up for yourself, even when it angers or upsets other people, I will have done my job as a parent. That is literally the only thing I teach you to do. Okay? So, but it's about that. It's trusting your own intuition. And so many of us, even as adults, don't trust it. We don't trust our decision making. And I was on, as people on this channel know, I'm also big into personal finance. I was on one of my, Facebook financial dependence groups, and somebody said, yeah, I would never do my own investments because I hire a professional for that. I'm like, well, okay. Well, it really depends. Like, you can invest in index funds on your own. You can just read some basic investment books and do that on your own. You don't need someone else to do it for you. Not saying don't do research on it, but this idea that we cannot do anything for ourselves, I don't like that. On the other hand, as somebody who's very hyper independent, we also need to ask for help when we need it. So it is a fine balance, right? I mean,
And they're showing it's more this attitude. This person's going to fix me.
Right.
That's the attitude. It's not that people can't help. It's just that when I turn inward, the answer might be go to a doctor. In fact, you probably should. If there's a health issue, you should definitely go to a doctor. Do you validate what the doctor says? Most people don't. Oh, it's recommended I do this. Okay, I'll do that, right? Like, let's go along with the medical industrial complex, right?
Right. Don't get me started.
Their point is that, like, you are responsible. You need to validate this information, and you have you've got help you've got interdimensional help, you guys. Why would you use it? Like, they might have, now, just because they're your guides doesn't mean they know what's best for you. You see, like you said, there's a fine line. Some people are like, I can't make a move. I have to consult my guides. But I think a little bit of like, let me just hear what they have to say. Let me tap into my higher self, which is the God part of you. Let's hear what the God part of me has to say. Why not? Like, we're so quick to cede our control. Fix my life, fix fix my health, fix my
Right.
marriage. It's like,
Right.
why not? Usually it's like, well, what is happening with you? Is like,
Right.
what's going on with you? But the answer, they might tell you, you should see this therapist. She's awesome.
Right.
We'll show you an ad for one, or you'll see, be on the lookout for a sign for XYZ. You can ask for these types of things. Okay, I
Right.
think I need a divorce attorney. Please help me come across the right one, Spirit. And then as you go, then patience, waiting, and then like you're at coffee with someone and they're like, I have this amazing divorce attorney, and you're like, oh, thank you, Spirit. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
that same thing. Like,
That's happened to me so many times, that serendipity, and I'm just like, that's crazy. It's crazy.
for you,
Like, yeah, it's literally handed to you on a platter. I was like,
sure.
oh my God. It's just, it's nuts how that often that happens. Like you said, if you're receptive to it,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, that's a lot of people. I talk about this too on this channel a lot. Are um, sometimes trying to soothe their ego, and ego energy is fine, right? That's fine. It's good. By doing things, activities that distract them from the things they need to work on, and from distract them from looking inward. So that's the thing. A lot of people are just not comfortable sitting with their own discomfort, their own pain, right? But that's the only way. It's Carl Jung, right? The only way to consciousness is through pain. There's no coming to consciousness without pain, some kind of at least emotional pain. And that's, I mean, that really segs nicely into the Scorpio full moon, because Scorpio is about the recognition of the intense emotional experience that we go through, including the negative stuff, the pain, right? We have to honor the negative emotions and the pain too. So that full moon happened last night, and we're going to feel the effects of it over the next few days. This was very interesting full moon because not only was full moon in the sign of Scorpio, but the moon was also squaring Pluto. So my guess is that people generally are going to have a hard time letting go of whatever it is they need to let go of. It's probably an energy of, I know I need to let this go and move on and release this, but I want to hold on to it, because that's Pluto square is going to make the release difficult but necessary. It is like a final goodbye. It is a final release. It has the potential to be this final release. So that's tough, and especially the fixed energy signs are not as comfortable with transitions and moving on as the cardinal, the mutable signs, right? They're more apt to want to hold on and fix things, like you said, change things to be like they were before, including structures and patterns and things like that. But that may not be, likely is not serving you, right? And it's not, if you don't make the decision to release that stuff now, the universe is going to force you to release it at some point. It's going to be more painful. That's what we say in the spiritual community, right? Flow with the energy. Don't, resist it. It's going to be worse if you actively resist and refuse to release and refuse to make changes. So yeah, and that conjunction from last weekend definitely supports making changes. Like, one of the sentences I associate with Uranus is the old guard will fail. The old guard cannot, continue. It just cannot. So you're going to have to make these changes, let go of the clutter. Sometimes, cleaning up and discarding mental and physical clutter. Like, I'm decluttering my home right now. I mean, if you follow law of attraction principles, which we do, right, that creates the space for more things, good things to come into your life, both physically, mentally, right? So it's a good activity to get into the habit of doing, like clearing physical space in your home. I do this. In fact, it's one of the first things I do. I do this regularly, and it's one of the first activities I do when I think about where I want to be in 6 months or 12 months. Like, I'm thinking of, like, yeah, I want to move out of this area. Well, I'm going to start packing up and doing my house, thinking about I'm going to sell it eventually, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's one of the first things I do is clear the clutter and make physical space in my home in preparation for what I want to happen. So it's a great habit to get into, but it's also, if you're feeling like you need to release some of this electric energy of Uranus, physical activities like that are productive I think they're really good to do, because you're releasing the energy and you're also making some progress, right? So yeah, that's what I would say about that.
Yeah. So the guys want to jump in. So
Sure.
inner world is a reflection of your outer world. So you cleaning is a reflection on what's going on inside, which is telling you
Right.
time to tidy up that house, Maria. And you're following the lead, and in doing it, you are helping and prepare yourself for the change. The one thing they were mentioning about the full moon is they're showing me like a world map, and they're showing me certain areas we're able to release a lot easier than others. And guess which ones had the difficulty? U.S. of A, sis. Like we are just, they're showing us in red, and the rest of some of the Eastern countries are all, not all of them, but most of them are like a nice blue color, but we're like a red, meaning that we're holding on to a lot. Our culture doesn't release things very well. We're a hustle culture. It's like you got to try harder, right? And it's just a reminder of like they don't think that people understand how to release, so they want to go over how to release. Okay, so the first way to release is to get in touch and why it's difficult for you to release, right? And the best way to ask this question is to just like, again, like Maria said, clear your mind, go for a walk, take a bath. I know people are moms and they're busy. Wash your hands. As you wash your hands, just ask, why is this hard? Why am I having a hard time releasing this? They're showing me like the root of like a dandelion, like the root. They're like, unless you pull the shit out by the root, it will keep growing. So understanding and connecting as to why you are having a hard time releasing is the first step in releasing. Second step is releasing the knowledge that you've been given about like why it's hard for you. You can pursue further. They're like, you can go therapy, you can go on a mushroom trip, whatever. Like they're like, if you want to go deeper into the reason, you can do that. That is your choice. They're not recommending it. They're just saying like that's a choice. Third way, say you go through all these steps and now you've really understood. They're kind of making me feel like once you make the change and once you release, you'll look back and be like, well, actually wasn't all that hard. They're showing me that the hardest part is actually feeling the discomfort. We are very pain averse. I'm super pain averse. I don't like being in pain, emotional or otherwise. I hate the feeling. But they're like, you can't skip this step because literally if you looked at your chakras during this, it would just show a blockage. And once you release, it just comes out of your body, right? So this manifests in me. The second I get a headache, I'm like, who pissed me off that I didn't get off my chest, right? What annoyed me that I wasn't saying or speaking? It creates literally an energy blockage, and this can manifest as your body as above, so below. It's connected, right? So the three things, asking yourself why it's hard to release, because again, they're showing me that U.S. particularly has a very hard time. The second, if you want to go into deeper as to why, they're showing me the root. Ask, what is the root of this, right? And the third, when you really, really want to release, you just release it. They're like, it's like dropping something hot. You just drop it, right? But
Exactly.
I'm a holder honor, and they're showing that some signs are just holder honor. Like, I think Earth are more difficult than most, right? And they're actually showing that some of the water signs had an easier time because they're used to the feels. They're used to crying. I'm not. I hate it.
Nobody burns bridges like a Scorpio, man.
Right?
Nobody.
They feel their emotions. They can. Some of us.
They can honor it. Yeah.
They honor it. So something. The one last thing they want to bring up, and this actually came from the coach that I use at work. So Earth signs like a challenge, and right? That's a challenge. So she's like, think of this as another challenge, right? We think of it like starting a business as a challenge. She's like, no. The challenge is this: feel your feelings, release your feelings. That's your new challenge, right? Because this is actually something that you need to make progress on. We all know Earth signs can run shit. We get that. We can do that already. So why don't you put that on the shelf for 5 seconds and actually focus on a growth area for yourself, which is letting shit go. They're like, maybe that is worth your time.
Yeah. No, that's really good advice. Yeah, for sure. I think you're right. I think a lot of that hustle culture is to distract from sitting with the feelings. I had that conversation with my therapist a couple weeks ago. He's like, so like, how are you doing? And I said, well, during the day, I'm great. I got all this stuff going on. I do my interviews. I'm working. I'm doing all this stuff and I'm working out. And at night I'm sad. And he goes, okay, so what I'm hearing is when you're no longer able to distract yourself with activity, I'm like, he's like, you feel the feelings. I'm like, yup.
Thank you.
He's like, what do you do? He's like, what do you do? I watch Netflix. Oh yeah, I read or I write, and writing, and I write. So that's
during stillness diet, we remove these things to feel, and that's why we only do it for a month because so many people are so out of touch that it's terrible. That difficult. We can't even sit with ourselves for 5 minutes without pulling the phone out because it hurts too much. And this is what
Right.
these transits are going to,
Right.
they're putting it in our face.
Right. Right. And it's, yeah, with the Scorpio energy, it's a good reminder of do the things that feed your soul. Like, what do you like? Like, put this stuff away, the distractions away. It's easier said than done, I know, because they're made to be addictive, especially for, for kids whose brains are not fully formed yet. But yeah, it's like, what do you need to feed your soul, right? You're not going to be necessarily happy 100% of the time. Nobody is. But what are the things you need to, for your soul to feel fulfilled, right?
I don't know
So
if
that
people ask
it's,
them. I mean, do people ask
yeah,
themselves that question? I don't think that they do. I think they
I
think
don't
that
know. It's a,
the answer
yeah,
is like pick a worldly answer, Maria.
yeah,
Pick a world. I want more money. I want a promotion. I
right,
want to have 1,000 YouTube subscribers. I
right,
want to do this. I want to do that. Like that's not
right,
for your soul, though. Like
right,
you're dead. You're looking back. What did you need that you didn't give
right,
yourself? What do you
right,
want to give the child that was you that they didn't get?
right,
Are you answering that question? Are you pushing it under the rug? Like it's
right,
some serious self-reflection, self-awareness. If you're
yeah,
going to be successful with any of these endeavors, is to understand, know
yeah,
thyself.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's tough because it's sometimes people don't want to, again, harkening to the Scorpio energy here, people don't want to do the shadow work because it's painful. Because sometimes digging that up is more painful than experiencing the painful stuff that caused
Yeah.
those feelings in the first place. And I get that, but like to your point, to the guide's point, you're not gonna find any fulfillment if you don't face that stuff. Yeah, and
No,
you're not alone in this. Like we all have
we
these
all have it.
issues.
And
They're a little different,
yes,
but we all have them. It's like in the book I'm writing right now, I made that point. I'm like, look, my experience is your experience. You're not alone. Like, and that's one of the benefits of a lot of the technological changes with social media brought by Uranus is it's connecting people
yes,
who may not otherwise have been connected so they
yes.
can have their experience validated and understand that they are not alone. And that's a very, positive aspect, obviously. But you're not alone in that. We all have these issues. And I talk with my viewers in the comments a lot about these issues and how they're so similar. Yeah, but it's the full moon is going to really compel you to start doing the work if you haven't started doing it already. So, yeah. And, yeah, that's all good advice. That is all really good advice. And when you are able to release and let go, you may be surprised at how quickly and suddenly you will be experiencing positive changes. Yeah, because these transits really support that.
So if you're open, and so now we have an angel that has stepped forward. If you want to hear
Ooh,
this message, this doesn't
yes.
feel like an archangel, but it feels like an angel whose responsibility it is to help humanity and assist with humanity. Angel energy, as I was discussing with Maria, feels sometimes very militaristic. They have like an action plan. They're super organized, and this angel's making me feel like we are right on target for like the Earth action plan. It's almost like if humanity has a beginning, middle, and an end. I feel like we're somewhere in the middle. He's showing me like somewhere in the middle. And the goal is to begin in separation and end in union with each other and with God, right?
Mm,
So he's showing us sort of like in the middle of that progress. It's almost like the feeling or the image I'm getting is despite the fact that people are doing this hard work, he's making me feel like we're just held and loved so much. And so that's the love is sort of coming through like this is hard, but you don't have to do it alone. Like you're not alone. It's this message like I'm here, you're not alone. So they're showing me feathers. So feathers are a very clear and direct angel sign. So they want me to bring that up. So if people are moving through their lives and they're seeing feathers, they're like every time you see one, just give us a shout. This person feels like kind of an emissary for angels. I feel like this person, it feels like it's a lot of masculine energy. I feel like he works with humans a lot. Some people have seen him a lot. And he's showing religious figures might have seen him from time to time too. And he's just showing and making me feel like we're all protected and loved through this transition. So, and he's not denying that it's difficult. And I think he's bringing through like you don't actually have to feel the pain as much as you think to release it.
mhm.
I think the point is to release it. And if you're having trouble releasing it, he's like, you can all just call on your angel. Help me release this. Help me see it differently. Help me gain a new perspective. He's like, don't keep hitting your head against the wall, right? If something's not clearing and you want it to clear, and you are unable to clear it because of the pain and trauma we carry, he's like, give it to me, I'll help you clear it. He's sort of like, I'm right here. Like, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help raise you up. So that is the message. I love this.
Oh, I love that.
Angel
I
message.
love that. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I love to think about like releasing a balloon into the ether too. I love
that's great.
I love to think about like wisps of smoke, like just like
Yeah.
being released into the air as it is, you know, when you're visualizing like releasing something with, you know, the breath work. Like those are the kind of things I like to think about visually because that helps just, you know, emphasize that idea of just releasing something into, and it goes on wherever, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a part of you anymore if you don't want it to be. So that is good stuff. Thank you. That is really good stuff. I love the positive message of that. Oh my gosh.
Whenever the angels talk, it just makes me feel like, you know what, everything's gonna be all right, everybody.
I know. And it's like, yeah, and it's almost like if you need, oh my God, I love it. I just got chills because I'm thinking like if you need, like I do, that mom energy because maybe you don't have a mom to go to for comfort, either because she's unfortunately passed on or she was just not that type of mother in many ways.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't have that. We can't run to mom, right? And get a hug from mom. So like I felt like I don't know, I felt like almost getting a hug right there. Like that was very much like, it's okay because you still have somebody you can go to. So that was very powerful. It really was. Thank you so much.
You all will have, yes, you all will have this experience, like angel experiences, like our physical. You will feel like just like.
Yeah. Have you ever met a human that you got that sense of angel? I have. It's so crazy. I'm like, this person is like a physical person, at least as far as I can tell. But you get this. I'm not as intuitive as Amy, but you get this sense of like, this is somebody who is at least more in touch with, right, this stuff. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Could be an angel. You don't know.
Yeah.
They'll take whatever form. And I know.
Yeah.
I think again, like that's just Maria's Capricorn moon talking. Everyone is born with the gift of intuition. Everybody.
Right.
There are no
Right.
outliers. We're all psychics. We all have our
That's right.
ability to sense and feel energy.
Right.
Everyone. And this shift is also bringing that to the forefront. It doesn't mean that you can't still work with the psychic perspective is always great, but it's people are going to be awakening more to their own abilities, which I think is really cool.
That's awesome. I love it. No, I love that. It's all part of higher power. So like God, like you said, God is in all of us. I mean, look, I'm Catholic. That's what the Catholic Church teaches. God is in all of us. We are all part of God. So that is consistent with the message that we're talking about. Absolutely.
And
so
I think it's funny that there's a master plan for humanity. That cracks me up. It's like this is all part of the plan. Like
that's awesome.
It's kind of cool. Yeah, it's like, oh, so we're gonna move towards like union then. That's a thing. Okay, then I don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like okay, got it. Tenfold.
Yeah. That's I'm just reading some of the comments real quick that I'm getting to. Sorry, it's hard for me to walk and chew gum at the same time, so it's hard for me to like converse and like do the comments.
So
we have
my team will say if there's any questions for Spirit, just ask.
Okay.
We can ask them real quick.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, if you're still watching and have any questions for Spirit, anything you want help with, please write them in the chat. Yes, I know. One life. Thank you. Yes, I have a Scorpio sun too. Powerful stuff, man. Nothing will compel your healing process more than having a Scorpio kid. So yes, that is true. And I love the fact that your son did his full moon release. That's awesome. I love teaching our kids this spirituality too.
Yeah.
It's so important. Yeah.
But good luck teaching a Scorpio kid anything about spirituality.
That's
I want nothing to do with you, Mom. Okay.
It has to come from a place of guidance, and it's almost like you just have to do the stuff that you want them to do, and they'll see you doing it. You can't force it upon them. Yeah, absolutely. You can't. You can't be like, well, look, or you can share with them like, hey, this is what I think, or this is what has been helpful for me. But yeah, you cannot force them to do anything, nor would I want to, right? It's too much work, frankly. It's like too much work. I'm a lazy parent. Lazy in the sense that like I'm not I'm not gonna like force him to do stuff he doesn't want to do. I don't see the point in that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess what do they call that now? A free range parenting, or I don't know. There's a whole bunch of different.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and Melody has your daughter Scorpio Moon is in her 12th house. Yeah, that 12th house is an open gate. It would not surprise me at all that she was able to sense the cat that passed away. Yeah, that would not surprise me at all. Yeah,
That's a huge indicator.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah, the 12th house moon is really powerful. That's somebody that needs a lot of spiritual support. Yeah, 12th house is a lot of astrologers don't even like to talk about it. I know. I have a 12th house Pluto. Ask me how comfortable that is. You know who else had a You know who else had 12th house Pluto?
Who?
Ted Bundy. Yeah, so we'll just say. But he had a lot of other weird transits, like Venus square Pluto and a bunch of stuff. Man, we could do a whole series on that. But that's totally out of the purview of this channel. But he was also a Sagittarius, proving they are the devil. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
kidding.
I see the name for the YouTube channel, Serial Killer Transits.
I'm telling you. Yeah, I'm telling you. This would be.
That could be.
It's a mutable sign. Well,
And
it's
then
a
you'll
mutable
find-
side issue.
You'll
Yeah.
find the opposite of that. People who are not serial killers that have the same transit, and then you could show both dualities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything. But 12th house planets in general, not comfortable. But you gotta, what's the saying we say? You gotta serve or suffer when you have 12th house planets. You gotta accept it or you're gonna suffer. If you resist it, you're gonna suffer. Anyway, I want to be respectful of your time, Amy, because I could talk about this stuff all day long. First of all, I want to tell everybody you can connect with Amy on her website and mailing list, which I'm going to post below. And she's on Instagram. If you want to please follow her on Instagram. Also, this is a big secret, but she gives pretty deep discounts for mailing list subscribers that I shamelessly take advantage of. So if you want those discounts, which include spirit guide readings, other readings, personal readings like the ones she just did for us, please subscribe to her mailing list to get those discounts. Yeah, is there anything you would like to talk about? Any messages you'd like to pass along before we close out for today?
If there's anything left. So they're showing that this is sort of the last show for a while, and we're going to sit with these energies, and they're saying that like this won't get easier if you put it off. So it's just a reminder of like, don't try to go back to life as it was before, because it doesn't exist. So they're bringing that through. They also want to acknowledge you, Maria, for having this channel. They're showing them as sort of sitting around eating popcorn, watching. they're like, we love this stuff.
I love it.
They're very entertained by it. They're showing it, but they're also showing that like, understand that spirit gravitates towards uplifting and meaningful. So like the more you have these conversations, you'll feel that energy draw to you, and it will only benefit you. So they're just showing a lot of prosperity for you for this channel, and just prosperity for you in the future. And they're showing that as like, you did that based on the types of way that you've been living your life and the energies that you're putting into it. So I wanted to leave that.
Oh, thank you.
And to thank
That's
them,
so
I
great.
have to plug them. So
Yes.
My Team Rainbow. So if you guys in the comments or later just say thank you, Team Rainbow. They love getting shout outs because they're egotistical like that. My team likes recognition. So Team Rainbow is the best. The best.
I love it. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Well, we're definitely going to have you back on. I don't usually do these cosmic weather kind of forecast videos because I like to spend my energy on the relationship stuff. But these transits were so significant. I felt like we really have to bring this to the fore and talk about them so that people know, like you said, we're not alone. You're not alone in experiencing this and experiencing the confusion and the emotions and all that stuff. So thank you very much, Amy. We're going to close out. If you have any questions for me or for Amy, please put them in the comments below, and we'll continue the discussion there. And I posted a couple of videos this week if you want to check those out. And I will be back very soon with the next video. Thank you, everybody.